Hi, welcome to our second live YouTube live chat. At the end of our last chat, I left you with this and asked if you knew what it was. Well, it's a thermostat. This is the most common type of thermostat you get in most showers. We sometimes call it a wax capsule, and that's because inside here is filled with wax. And what happens is when the hot water, when warm water moves over this or cold, the piston in the end here moves out and in. I don't know if you can see that, it moves out and in, like that. And it's that controls the temperature of the water. There are one or two different sizes, but they're more or less all the same shape as this. The movement in the pin here, in some cases, is probably as little as maybe 2 mil from if it was fully hot to fully cold, and in general maybe not more than 4 mil. We do have a little video that shows you how to test that by marking the pin and dropping it into a cup of hot water and cold water. The one thing about this you shouldn't do is that never pull the pin out to see if you can see what the problem is. If you do, all that happens is you let air in between the wax and the pin, and it basically doesn't work properly because you compress the air. This pin usually fits, not in every shower, but most showers fits into something like this, the shuttle. And what happens is it's called the shuttle because it shuttles back and forward between the hot and cold ports inside the shower. So as this expands and contracts, the wax expands and contracts, this moves back and forward. This is a fairly standard brass valve. This is the outlet, this and this end are the outlet, and these are the inlets. And what happens is the water comes in here and runs to the back of the valve, and it comes in this side and runs to the front of the valve. And between the back and front ports, the shuttle moves back and forward. And so as the thermostat senses the temperature, it moves the shuttle back and forward, and that's what controls the temperature. And it can keep the temperature controlled very, very accurately. They should be installed everywhere these days. It's just there's no reason for not having a proper thermostatically controlled shower. And so that's kind of the usual thermostat. There's different type of arrangements, but that's what goes into the shower. There are other thermostats, usually with a bimetallic strip. Bimetallic strip is two pieces of metal that are sort of welded together, and as you heat them, the metal bends. This is a bimetallic strip here, and when the temperature hits this, what happens is it moves the shuttle here between the hot and cold ports, so it moves back and forward between the ports as the temperature hits the bimetallic strip. This is an acrylic one, as you can see it's an old one, but the bimetallic strip's coiled in this case, and what that does is it moves it out and in this particular case, and the ports are in here, and so therefore it can keep the temperature fairly accurately balanced as well. Just really the two normally different methods that are used to control the temperature in the shower. Yeah, Happy Boy's concerned that there's water and electricity together inside the shower. Well, there is, but basically it's all fairly safe because the water and electrical components are generally kept apart. The only thing that I would advise is if you find a leak coming from the inside of the shower, that's the point to stop using it. With modern trip switches with circuit breakers, it's not really a particular worry because if there's anything goes wrong, they'll trip. Nevertheless, if you see water coming from the shower from anywhere other than it ought to be coming, then don't use it until you find out where the water's coming from. Really, two things that normally cause the lever to go stiff is lack of lubrication. It needs greased inside. Or the other thing that can happen is that if the O-rings or the brass starts to wear inside, it should have been greased before that what happens is that the brass parts don't mesh properly into the hole, and so they're going in at a very slight angle, and what you're having to do is to force it in with the handle, and there's no grease there. What that does, of course, is it wears out the brass parts and wears out the shower. So we'll do the live chat with somebody here. Fantastic video. Can you please advise me if possible? This is, Richie Ross Foster. Can you please advise me if possible, if it is possible to get the same pressure from an electronic shower as you can from a normal pressure shower? Do you have any advice on brand or method? So I'm assuming it means a gravity shower or a pump shower and an electric shower. gravity shower normally requires about 1 metre between the top of the shower head and the bottom of the cold water tank. That's what most manufacturers recommend as the minimum that their showers will work on. And so that would be 0.1 of a bar, 1 metre between the two. 0.2 of a bar would be 2 metres, 0.3, so on and so on. So the more height you have between the bottom of the cold water tank and the top of the shower head, the more pressure you get. If you go for an electric shower, go for the most powerful one you can. So that would be a 10.8 kilowatt shower or a 10.5, there's not much difference. That does mean using heavier cable, and it's got to be wired all the way back to the meter with heavy cable, but then that will definitely give you the best electric shower you can get. I guess that's it. I hope you're happy with the answers that we received and some of the bit technical talk that we've had. I think next time what we'll do is we'll have a chat about pumps. I've brought a couple up here. So this is the kind of different pumps. This is a pump for that you would use to increase the pressure to your shower. Another one, same again, just different manufacturer. They go about it a slightly different way. But once again, just a pump that will increase the pressure to your shower. This kind of thing, which is a pump that's inside the shower. You can put these in. You have these in electric showers and just small pressure showers. So looking at our next live feed, and thank you for watching this. I hope you found it interesting. You'll be able to pick up any more of our stuff on YouTube. There's lots of help videos there. And if not, you can email us or just leave a comment in YouTube and we'll try and answer them there. I'd like to say thank you to Lucas, who sits behind the camera and kind of keeps me right. And so until the next time, goodbye.